This is a silverpoint. It's the ancestor of the graphite pencil, a thin rod of silver that creates beautiful, subtle lines. It's a fascinating technique that's been used by artists for centuries, and today we'll see how you can use it to do the underdrawing on your canvas. Why and how? That's what we're about to see. Let's get started. So what exactly is silverpoint? Simply put, it's a drawing technique that uses a thin rod of silver to create lines on a specially prepared surface. You can find a silverpoint stylus like this online, on Amazon for example. I've seen some, or on a good specialized online store of your choice. Or you can also ask your local jewelry. You just need a simple silver wire that you can then put in a mechanical pencil like this one. This is what I use most of the time and it works really well. It's a perfect fit and it's just great. Unlike graphite, silverpoint doesn't leave a dark, smudgy mark, and once it's on the surface, it's there forever. You can't erase it. You might think that it's a problem that it can be erased, but for us, because what we want to do is paint afterwards, it's quite interesting actually, because the oil paint, no matter how liquid, will not affect the trace of the drawing, and it will remain as an inalterable outline forever, basically. Unlike drawing with graphite or charcoal on your canvas, using a silverpoint will not smudge, it will not be dissolved by the spirits, and it will stay on the canvas forever. Silverpoint creates a very fine light gray line that oxidizes over time, slowly darkening and acquiring a subtle warm tone. For us here, it doesn't really matter that much if we want to paint over it, but silverpoint can also be a wonderful drawing technique on its own. Historically, silverpoint was popular during the Renaissance when graphite pencils were not available. Artists like Leonardo da Vinci, Raphael used it extensively for studies and preliminary drawings. And I really love this drawing of the lemon tree by Sir Frederick Leighton. I think that the delicate nature of the line really allows for this incredible detail and precision and this incredible level of subtlety. And of course, the silverpoint technique got forgotten mostly when graphite took over, because it's just a lot more practical to have something that is erasable. Now, one thing you need to know is that you can't draw on any surface with a silverpoint. The silver needs a slightly abrasive surface to leave a decent mark, which means that you can't use it on paper because paper is not abrasive enough. Traditionally, artists used a ground made from bone ash or gesso, and for canvas, what we'll use is a modern equivalent, and a good quality acrylic gesso can allow this silverpoint to leave decent marks. Typically, every oil painting surface is gessoed, so it's the perfect ground for a silverpoint drawing. What you need to remember is that silverpoint lines are very light, so you need to build up the drawing gradually. You don't want to press too hard in the beginning because you can damage the surface, and also because the line is not erasable. And the great thing about the silverpoint method is that even in master's works, you can see the mistakes because they can't erase the lines. On this portrait by Da Vinci, for example, you can see all the wrong lines on the outside of the face. Is something you have to deal with silverpoint. So just make those lines very subtle in the beginning, and you just have to live with them and just allow them to exist. You want to use short overlapping strokes to create the design line weight. The lines always have the same thickness, so it's very regular, very even. If you want to do shading, you're going to have to do some cross-hatching and going very slowly and building it very gradually. It resembles graphite, and the only exception is that it can't be erased. But other than that, it's pretty nice. You can use the cross-hatching and directional hatchings to create some very nice shading effects. And it's all about building up those delicate lines. But again, in terms of doing this on a canvas before a painting, maybe you just need the one line for the outline and you don't necessarily need to spend the time to do the shading. I'm just mentioning it, of course, but it's not necessarily something that you really want to spent a lot of time on. So it's all about control and building up those delicate lines, and also building up the darkness very progressively. So it's really something that you have to treat as a drawing technique of its own. And just unlike graphite where you can erase, really here you want to go very progressively, because if you go too hard, if you go too dark, there's no going back. And talking about that, let's talk about the limitations of the silverpoint. While silverpoint is fantastic for precise underdrawings, it does have some limitations. Firstly, you can't erase the silverpoint. So once the line is down, it's there forever. So plan your drawing carefully. It can be a problem if you want to make changes. But the key with silverpoint is to use the pressure progressively. You want to keep the lines ghostly at first. Build your drawing slowly, and when the final decision can be made, press harder to get a darker line. Keep in mind that it's not ideal for a very dark line and bold line. So if you want something very dark, very highly chiaroscuro with lots of shadows, silverpoint is not what you want. Silverpoint is all about subtlety, is all about lightness. It's all about painting with, the hair of an angel. If you're not happy with the fact that it's not erasable, you can always start the drawing with graphite or charcoal. Then when you have made your final decision, trace over with silverpoint and erase the graphite before painting. Once you're happy with your silverpoint underdrawing, you can begin the painting. The light lines will act as a guide, and they'll become even more subtle as the paint layers builds up. And if you want to keep them alive and keep them visible in the end, the silver lines will integrate beautifully with your paint, providing a subtle and precise foundation for your artwork. The great thing about the silverpoint is that it's so light and so delicate that it's very difficult to notice. And here, for example, on the sides, you can see the mistakes. See, at first my head was too big, so I couldn't erase this line. I can decide to leave it and keep it visible, but it's not going to be very hard to cover up. It's not going to create any sort of mess. So all these lines here are kind of mistakes that I made the head too wide in the beginning, and then this final line here that I retraced with black paint is actually the final decision. But the great thing about the silverpoint is that it is so delicate that you can actually decide to leave it like that, and it can actually be used to create some very subtle, very precise effects that sort of give this high resolution. It's almost like you have like tiny hair, because the lines are just so delicate and small. And what it means to draw, to me, this technique really catches the very essence of drawing. And there you have it. Making a silverpoint underdrawing is a fantastic way to add precision and delicacy to your canvas paintings. Give it a try and let me know how it goes in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more art tutorials. You can watch this video next, and as always my friends, joy and inspiration to you. Bye.